Welcome to another episode of the Snug Wrestling Podcast. This is the Monday Night Raw review for March 16th, 2026. And tonight they were live from San Antonio, Texas. But before we get into this show, we had a lot of stuff to cover tonight. We're going to go ahead and say hello to the entire panel, the Snug Crew. So you have me, your lead analyst and host of the Monday Night Raw review, Mr. Blood. You then have the founder, the creator, the leader of Snug Wrestling, Edgar. You have Tommy and Toxic, our play-by-play and secondary and third dairy, whatever, that's not a word, people, analysts who are going to give us their thoughts on the show tonight. But of course, before we continue, go ahead, guys. Let's tell the people how we're doing this week. Let's spread the positivity of this week and your overall thoughts on the show. Just your general consensus. Good, bad, indifferent. How do you guys feel?
I'm doing okay. No, not really good or bad. It's just been shit. But for a Texas crowd and for being a Texan myself, the crowd sounded like really kind of, I wouldn't say dead, but they sounded like blah to me. There was a few parts where they were like, "Oh my God, okay, they're actually I don't even know the fucking word, but yeah, I mean, whenever I went to Dallas, I mean, that crowd was 100 times better, even though I was there in person. But point still stands. The show was great. And yeah, no other thoughts.
They say everything is bigger than in Texas, and for the crowd, that was not the case. It really wasn't. Overall, I have spent the entire weekend with my girlfriend, and Illinois weather is deciding to be a bitch to the point where, as you will be able to tell, my voice is not great because even last night, it decided to both rain and snow within 24 hours of each other. So, welcome to the Midwest. It's bipolar as all hell. So, yeah, that's the explanation for my voice, is the weather is deciding to be a bitch.
That's pretty funny. Today was like the first time that I actually had to turn on my AC because it was that hot for the very first time this year. So that was interesting. But yeah, as far as the show, it's good to be back, you guys. We didn't go over Friday Night SmackDown, and I think we missed quite a bit. There was a few recaps of what happened on SmackDown. We saw Randy do a video package, but yeah, I mean, kind of like SmackDown, this episode of Monday Night Raw just seemed like there was a lot of stuff on there that was kind of like, all right, can we just get on with it? They were really dragging on a lot of stuff tonight. I mean, it still had its good moments, which we'll go over, but not my favorite episode of Monday Night Raw that I can think of recent times, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, since we're over here shooting shit about the weather, I'm from Florida and I'm on the coast. I'm about 2 miles away from the ocean. And when it came down to it, just this past couple days, we don't have the cold or the heat or nothing. We're just approaching storm season in the very, very precipice here, or the beginning stages of spring turning into spring. And man, I was on walking my dog earlier. Wind started swirling, clouds started turning. I thought it was about to start a tornado. And I was getting shit thrown at me left and right, just trying to get my dog to go out and take a piss. I had leaves and sticks and shit going all over the parking lot. I was like, oh, fantastic. I'm probably going to lose power if this keeps up. But other than that, the show, yeah, man, what upsets me about the show tonight is that you remember last week, I was so excited going out of that review into this show because we had so much that we thought we were going to get. We were getting an IC title match. We were getting actually 2 IC title matches tonight. Brock Lesnar was going to be on the show. Roman Reigns was going to be on the show, and he was announced for the show. Punk was going to be here. There was going to be the fallout with the Usos. There was so much to look forward to. And Jesus Christ, like, it's not like it's a one match or a one segment show, but it definitely felt like in between the majority of the segments, you were just like, can we get to this match? Can we just get to this segment? There was a lot of can we just feeling over this overall show. So speaking of, we're going to go ahead and get into the start of it, unless Mr. Snug here, Edgar, has got something to say about that.
Yeah, just really quick. We got a good comment from It's a Me. Shout out to them. Says Raw was okay, not good. At the same time, people thought Stone Cold would show up because it is Austin 316 day. There were some rumors that the WWE was trying to get Austin for this episode of Raw, but didn't happen. Obviously,
That's
right?
funny too, because it's like a declared holiday or whatever now in like Texas. But the thing is, Austin doesn't live in Texas anymore. He moved out of Texas several years ago. So he lived like I think in
Arizona, no?
Yeah, like Arizona or somewhere now. So
Yeah.
I mean, unless you give me a whole ass bag, I don't know if I feel like flying back there. Y'all can just celebrate without me. But let's get into the show. The show opens with essentially just there's a bunch of shit happening. And I don't mean a bunch of crazy stuff, not like last week, but basically it opens with a Seth segment. Him and his masked goons come out. And again, and I'm going to reiterate this from last week, it's lame, in my opinion. It feels lame. A bunch of guys pretending to be Seth when we know none of them are Seth, and then here's Seth. But he gets straight to it, rips the mask off. He says he created the vision. He brought it into this world. It's his job to destroy it. And he says, what he did to Heyman was an example. And basically all this rides on Heyman's betrayal. He says he doesn't care if you're on the shelf like Bronson or Braun Breaker, or if you are peon sycophant roadies like Logan Paul and Austin Theory. If you're next to Paul Heyman, you are basically marked for death. This brings out Paul Heyman in what I thought was the best part of this entire segment. Paul Heyman just putting on one hell of a fucking performance, right? Disheveled, red-eyed, 5 o'clock shot, like beard overgrown, not tightened up with his suit. That prim, proper Paul Heyman we know. This was like, dude, the Oscars were last night, and Paul Heyman in here in contention for an Emmy, in my opinion. He was great. And he says, you know what, Seth? F-A-F-O, which means fuck around, find out. He says it 2 more times. He says, but F-A-F-5. Brock Lesnar comes out and goes for Seth. Now, this is interesting because this was, of course, something that the fans had speculated in the rumor mill of the wrestling news, that Brock Lesnar would be the one taking on Seth Rollins at WrestleMania because they don't know if Braun Breaker would be back in time. Now, Brock Lesnar comes out there, destroys Seth's guys in very, very sloppy fashion, in my opinion, and very unsafe fashion. I got to say that. He drops a guy on his head. One of the other guys gets thrown and rolls on his knee the wrong way. He throws another guy, and then one guy next to the apron just falls over without even getting touched. And then he drops a guy head first into the freaking apron or the barricade. Basically gets in the ring, and all of a sudden, the red herring of the segment, Oba Femi, comes out. Basically, Seth distracts Brock with a glance. Oba nails Brock Lesnar with the fall from grace. Pointing at the WrestleMania sign, it is confirmed as of the end of the episode, it will be Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I love this because this was a complete swerve to make people think they were going to do the boring choice of Seth versus Brock, and then they still swerved us and gave us Oba versus Brock, which is what everybody wanted. So that tells me Seth is going up against Braun Breaker at Mania. Braun's getting cleared in time. What did you guys think of this segment?
Holy fucking shit. Okay, so little story time. I was late to Raw. As soon as I joined the thing, the little thing was popping up, the then, now, forever, whatever that shit is. And I was also doing my betting while doing that. And then watching this, I was like, okay, it's typical Seth's mask goon shit, whatever. And then Brock comes out. I'm like, okay, that's pretty Seth fucking run. And then Oba, I'm like, yeah, we're getting these two at fucking WrestleMania, and there is nothing you can tell me that we are not. But then whenever Oba, Brock, and Seth are it's just them three in the ring. And it looks like Seth's about to go in there, like in between the two for like a 3-way stare down. I was like, okay, I would want to see that. Oba versus Brock versus Seth. I'd want to see that, but it's clear if Braun Breaker gets back in time that we will most likely see that. So I'm just hoping one of the two injured Vision members get back so we can get one of them versus Seth at Mania. But I am so happy that we are getting Oba versus Brock because I mean, just that is going to be such an amazing match. Even if you don't know if like this is one of the matches that you could introduce someone that isn't a wrestling fan, you can introduce them to wrestling with this match. That's what I feel like, unless the match is shit, which I don't feel like it's going to be that way. So I'm happy we're getting this match at Mania.
Oh, I am also so happy we are getting this match at Mania. But here's my question. When was the last time we saw Brock Lesnar be taken down that damn easily? Because it's been a hot minute since that happened. And Obafemi, one fall from grace, is what took out Brock Lesnar. One of them. So I am so happy that we are getting this match. When it comes to good old Seth Rollins, he did his whole Seth Rollins thing. We all know he's good on the mic. He always has been, always will be great on the mic. But Obafemi stole this segment for me because holy shit, we are finally getting the match that has already started at the Rumble with that face-off. So I cannot wait for Mania. The question is, will it be night 1 or will it be night 2?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think this was like my favorite part of the entire fucking show. The very first segment that we see, I think to me was the best thing all night, right? Just everything from top to bottom. Seth Rollins showing up, right? The people pop big every time Seth Rollins takes off that mask, you know? It's that simple for Seth Rollins because he's Seth Rollins. And then he cuts the promo where he says, if you're aligned with the Vision, I'm going to take out the Vision. You know, you already took out Paul Heyman. And if you're aligned with the Vision, I'm going to take you out too. Automatically, the first thing that pops to mind is, including Brock Lesnar? Holy shit. And Paul Heyman comes out with his fucking overly dramatic, just looking like shit, putting on the performance of a lifetime Paul Heyman is, right? And he brings out Brock Lesnar. Now we have Seth and Brock face to face, but remember, Seth Rollins isn't medically cleared, so it's like, holy shit, how is Seth Rollins gonna get away from this one? Seth Rollins isn't running away. Seth Rollins is standing his ground. Seth Rollins is watching Brock Lesnar take everyone out. What the hell is Seth Rollins gonna do when Brock Lesnar gets his hands on him? It's bad for Seth Rollins, right? The lights turn off, Obo's music hits, and it's like, okay, this is cool, right? But also, why now? And I don't know about you guys, but it kind of made me wonder, does Seth and Oba have something going on? Is Oba gonna be working for Seth? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but I thought this is kind of interesting timing, right? And then the power bomb. Brock Lesnar turns his back on Oba for a split second. Major power bomb. That was a huge moment for me because you're right, Tommy. I can't remember the last time I've seen Brock Lesnar go up for a power bomb like that. Maybe it has happened. I got into a little argument with some people in the comments telling me that, oh, it's Batista's done it. Gunther has powerbombed Lesnar. Oh, the list goes on. Okay, fine. Maybe that's true. But that list is still really short. Obafemi is one of those people that can say, I powerbombed Brock Lesnar, which is rare. And what a great fucking moment. Great opening segment.
Yeah, before we move on, the one thing I want to highlight about this segment, the fear on Brock Lesnar's face. The fear. That's what I wanted to highlight. When Oba's music played and the camera went to Brock, Brock looked genuinely concerned for his own well-being. When Oba stood in the ring and looked him in his face, Brock looked intimidated. When Oba got him and hit him with the fall from grace and stood over him with his foot on Brock's chest, basically saying, hey, I just conquered you. And Brock rolls out of the ring and looks back up into the ring at Oba. He looked genuinely fucking concerned. I want to give props to Brock, which I don't like doing because I can't stand the fucker. And I don't just mean in character. I can't stand the man as a human being. I got to give it to him for selling that much for Oba, because I genuinely think when we get to Mania, he's going to make Oba Femi look like an even bigger star than Oba already feels like. But that was our opener. Let's move on. So we move on to El Grande Americano versus the original El Grande Americano. Now, this match I thought was one of those types of matches that this felt like can we get this fucking feud over with already match is how I started to feel about this. I started feeling this way like 2 weeks ago. They had a decent back and forth. The crowd did not give a shit about this for the entire first 70% of this match. They barely gave it any heat, barely gave it any reaction. They slowly start creeping into it the longer they realize, oh, they're actually having a competitive back and forth. Then they started giving it some love. Now, we get through a lot of interference spots, a lot of overcoming for the original El Grande Americano. Bravo, while the ref is distracted, slips the metal plate into El Grande Americano Kaiser's mask. So when the original Chad goes up for a diving headbutt, when he jumps down and dives, he knocks himself out. And basically, El Grande Americano Kaiser gets the win off of some bullshit, which then you realize the audience immediately died the moment that it ended, kind of abruptly, in my opinion. And if I'm going to be honest, the reason I think that this finish is stupid is because, hey, I might be diving into the plate, but the plate is under your mask and directly on your head. You're going to feel the same amount of impact that I'm going to feel. So why aren't you knocked out too, is what I thought. Because yes, I'm jumping into it, but it's crammed into your mask. The moment I hit you, I am burying that shit in your forehead. So why aren't you unconscious? I thought it was a decent match that ramped up, could have gone a little longer, in my opinion, to really win the crowd over more. But I thought this finish was stupid to me. Logically, it didn't make sense. I know I got to suspend my disbelief. Otherwise, bitches are going to cry in the comments. But at the end of the day, I'm ready to see this end their next encounter completely. I'm ready for it to be over. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I didn't give 2 fucks for this. I mean, I'm ready for this to be over, and I can see that being at Mania, mask for mask. But yeah, I'm just ready to see this shit over with.
At this point, end the damn feud. I don't care if it's on main roster. I don't care if it's on AAA. Just unmask one of them already. We already know who both of them are. So I hated this match. I really did. Just because of how dumb it was. So at this point, end the feud and unmask one of them already.
The match was good. These two, they're two good workers, and they're wrestling, kind of like some lucha style, some technical stuff going on there. The match itself was good. I do agree with Blood that the finish was a little janky to me, but I have my own reasons for not liking the finish. It's just a dangerous, unnecessary spot. I mean, maybe it doesn't make sense, but my thing was like, well, he just put the metal plate on his head. So in order for this finish to work, Chad Gable's going to have to jump off the top rope and headbutt Kaiser head first in order to sell this finish, which first of all, that's stupid dangerous. Everything that we know now about concussions and Chris Benoit doing all those fucking moves all those years, that flying headbutt, it's already scary as it is. And then you're going to set it up to where you have to land on the guy's head in order to hit that metal plate, quote unquote.
Or get as close as you possibly can for the camera and risk getting too close for the sell.
And it didn't even work. They
No.
didn't even make contact, which, okay, I'm glad they didn't make contact. But
100%.
now it's like,
well, I saw
it just looked like shit at
Yeah,
that point. So it's just like,
because-
why even do that? Like
Like
but
even if hard cam picked it up, you could drive a truck in between that gap. Even though camera B picked it up, like if the cameraman outside the ring on announcer's table side was able to get it, then I think it works for the people at home, because there's blocking where it's forced perspective, right? But for the audience that's sitting on the freaking opposite side of the ring, opposite of hard cam, looking into hard cam, they can see the gap because they're literally watching Chad dive from we're reversed, but they're watching him dive from the freaking the freaking goddamn top turnbuckle over here, and then Kaiser's here. They're seeing him come and stop right here because they're looking straight on it. So it only cheeses for the people at home. And a diving headbutt, typically, to do it safely, you're supposed to dive in at the top of the shoulder. That's where you make contact, right here. So it looks snug. But this just didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. I'm not saying they need to just move on. I'm saying they need to wrap it up.
yeah. And also, like, I'm a huge fan of this storyline, but I enjoy it more in AAA because Kaiser's Americano, or I shouldn't call him that because people will come at me in the comments. El Grande Americano, the new one. This storyline is more enjoyable when it has the heat of Chad Gable being the heel, as opposed to here in America, in United States, they're trying to make him the baby face. So for me, that doesn't work. So
yeah,
I enjoy it, but when it's in AAA only. This doesn't work for me here in the United States.
Yeah, and if you want to hear our deeper thoughts on this, myself and Edgar, you can catch our one of our podcasts that went out last Thursday, our Thursday night. We did a special guest spot with son of famed actor Matthew Broderick. James Wilkie Broderick, who is a massive professional wrestling fan, was on with us for a 3-way podcast stream where we went a lot into our thoughts on AAA and this feud and where we think things should go. So if that interests you,
don't forget about his mom too. His mom's pretty famous.
Yes,
just throwing that out there.
Yes.
What's her name? Sarah Jessica Parker, I think.
Yes, lovely woman. Yes, please, by all means, check out that podcast over on Apple, Spotify, I believe YouTube as well, if you'd like to check that out. But we're going to move on. I'm going to combine these next two segments because they went hand in hand. And for some reason, they shoved a random video package in between them and a commercial break. That's another reason this episode was hard to get through. The pacing, which I thought they were starting to correct, was fucking everywhere tonight. Because after this match, we cut to a commercial, comes back from commercial, straight into a video package, from the video package straight into one of these segments, from this segment into a commercial break, from the commercial break back into the second part of the segment. It was fucking atrocious. This is Roman Reigns and the Usos, these two combined segments. So Roman basically pulls up with all of his swagger. He's greeted by the Usos, who basically, they dap him up and they're all proud of themselves for Cole cocking Punk last week. Now, Roman basically looks into the camera and puts out a hit on CM Punk for the entire bloodline, every cousin, everyone, including Solo and the MFTs. He says anyone. He says there's before and there's after Mania. He's fair game, but that week in Mania weekend, don't touch him. He's mine, unquote. And Roman also says later, when they're backstage sitting in one of the rooms, he says he doesn't care about getting an apology from Punk for Punk talking about burying him next to his father, the late great Sika. But when it comes down to it, he says the Usos do need an apology. Roman doesn't care that he's a part-timer. Roman's proud of being a part-timer because he believes it puts him on a different level. He also believes that the most important flex he can have is having as much time at home with his kids and family as possible, because as the Usos know, and he knows, they were very distant from their fathers because their fathers were always on the road with the Fed. Now, Roman basically says, we're going to go out and handle business, and that was the end of that. So what did you guys think of these two segments in their entirety?
You know, I mean, it felt like the old days again. I mean, it felt like when it was just them three in the bloodline. But if I'm being 100% complete, dead honest, I do not need to see this story again. I don't need to see Roman and the Usos paired up again. I don't. I'm just not with the Usos being heel. Even though they act heel, but they're a babyface, I just don't need them heel again. It's just, and plus you can't even tell when Roman is heel. I mean, that's the thing with all four of these people in this storyline. Punk, Roman, and the Usos. You can't tell when they're being heels and when they're being faces. I mean, that's how it is for me, at least. I'm pretty sure the other people can tell, but I can't tell. And I just don't need the Usos to be heel because I enjoy them hell of a lot more as faces. And I feel like they actually know what they're doing half the time when they're faces. But I mean, that's just maybe my opinion. And the pacing fucking sucked. I mean, just fix this, please.
And here's why this is a great match for Mania. One of the greatest, when it comes to star power, matches at Mania. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. Because Punk can easily make things as personal as humanly possible. And him saying the words, I'm going to bury you next to your father so you won't be alone anymore. Holy shit, dude. Like, this is the big thing here. And him going to the Usos and going, hey, I don't need an apology here, but you two need an apology here. It just fits Roman perfectly, and this is why I love this build to Mania specifically.
Yeah, these two video packages were interesting. The first thing I noticed is, like, every time we see a backstage segment, there's clearly a camera recording these people, right? But no one ever looks at the camera, except Roman did this time. First, he was doing the regular backstage segment, talking straight to the Usos, and then he turns to the camera and is just like, well, it's just weird because at least like in the Vince McMahon days, you're not supposed to look at the camera. They never look at the camera, even though there's someone with the camera there. But Roman Reigns does it, and it's just like, well, what about all the other times, that no one ever looks into it, but Roman did it. I thought that was kind of odd. I'm glad he did it because at least he's not ignoring the fact that this is a conversation that's being recorded, right? So I got that feeling. And then Roman says, I from what I understood, it said that he doesn't want anyone touching Punk until after Mania, is what I understood. Okay, maybe I misheard, but that's the feeling that I got. Okay, they end that segment with that Roman Reigns talking to the camera. The Usos said goodbye. They leave. Roman finishes this backstage segment, and then we go back, and the Usos and Roman are back in another backstage segment together. When it was like, didn't they just say goodbye? Didn't they just say, all right, you go that way and I'm gonna go that way? So the second video package that we got, it felt like it was a pre-recorded video package or something like that. It just felt like two completely different time zones. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it just
like they belonged on two different episodes.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like they just went together. It just felt like they had nothing to do with one another at all, but
yeah. I mean, here's the thing too about this segment. because aside from the fact that I noticed that there's a lot of stuff that didn't have to be here on the show tonight. You know what I noticed? There was no Finn Balor tonight. There was no Gunther tonight. There was stuff that was left off the show in favor of other things being on. And when it comes down to it, these segments, though they're entertaining because it is cool to see these guys together, it points out a lot of hypocrisy and flaws in Roman's side of this feud, right? Because the Usos are sitting here on the couch with Roman and they're demanding, like, we're going to make him apologize, right, Roman? We're going to make CM Punk apologize. Like, Jay is like, we're going to get this apology. And Roman says, I don't care about an apology. And the reason that's important, and I really want people to understand this, Roman never once apologized to the Usos for what he did to them in the bloodline. He never once apologized how he treated them, never once apologized to how he abused them and manipulated them. But also it points out a flaw with the Usos. They were so head set on getting Punk to apologize to them that they're sitting here and just like, it doesn't matter if Roman doesn't apologize to us. So then why do you care so much that Punk apologizes? Why? Because he talked about your family? Yeah, well, Roman once fucking put your injured brother in a fucking headlock and refused to let him go unless you gave up in a match for a title, an inanimate object. He never once apologized for how he treated them. Never once apologized for using them and putting them in harm's way for 4.5 years. But somehow they need an apology. And Roman's just like, I don't care. He talked about my dead dad. Doesn't matter. And that's where I think they need to get some of these story beats cleaned up a bit, because it's inconsistent with character motivations we've seen before, or seeing last week even, versus what they're saying now. But that's just what I wanted to say. I think they need to clean up these motivations. It's still entertaining, but it steps on other stuff we already know is established history with these characters. Moving on to the second match of the night, AJ Lee versus Bayley in the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. I really enjoyed this match. I was looking forward to this match a lot, actually. AJ already beaten Becky as a fighting champion, already going out there, 2-ish weeks after she wins the damn thing, 2-ish, 3-ish weeks, already having a defense before Mania, could be risking serious injury for someone who doesn't spend that much time in the ring anymore heading into the show of shows. But she had a very competitive match with Bayley here tonight. I like the story of this match. The story of this match being told was Bayley's desperation, her desperation, her last gasp to win this Intercontinental Championship. This title she has been chasing for over a year now. She has been trying to get this thing around her waist, and she finally has an opportunity here. But it seemed like no matter what she did, AJ had a counter. AJ had a response for everything. Even there were points where it looked like Bayley had AJ beat with a Bayley to belly. AJ kicks out. She gets her. She didn't even get her in the Rose Plant, but she winds up getting her in what I believe was a very deep, I think it was a single leg Boston Crab. AJ doesn't give up. She doesn't resist. AJ kept fighting to retain. Bayley kept fighting to win. And unfortunately, and it was very much put over on commentary, Bayley's desperation wasn't his desperation. It was self-frustration. She was getting angry at herself, which played a major factor in her losing here, because AJ not only wins by submission, but it's been a while since we've seen Bayley tap out. So what did you guys think of this match?
This was
really quick. I apologize. I did forget something here. This match also extremely pissed me off in the end. I was very mad at this because we come back from an ad break after AJ's already celebrated, and ad break comes back. AJ's in the middle getting her ass beat by Becky. We don't know why. We come back. She's on the stage getting her shit kicked in by Becky. We don't see the initial attack. It went off to commercial as if AJ was already done and walking, just done celebrating, cut to commercial. And Becky basically title smacks AJ. This is another thing, this pacing, because this is the first time of the night we come back from commercial and we're in the middle of missing part of an important angle. Same thing with the Penta match. We come back from commercial break. Match already started. It's a championship match. We've already missed the opening. But I digress. Go ahead, Toxic.
Yeah, this match pissed me off, and it's mainly for what happened afterwards. The match was actually, let's see, what do we have tonight for matches? We had this was second match of the night for me. I'm pretty sure we had like 3 matches.
We had 5, brother.
5.
I know,
This shit
right?
felt like 3.
We had 5.
Oh, holy. That shows you how much I didn't give a shit about the other ones. But this match was second match of the night for me because it's just Bayley and AJ. I mean, Bayley, you can't go wrong with a Bayley match. Almost all Bayley matches are good. They're what's the word? They're easy to not lose focus because I don't even know what it is, but that's also the same way with AJ. You don't lose focus when they're in a match because they're just that damn entertaining. And the only thing I have as for a complaint is when Becky is beating the absolute shit out of AJ. Where the fuck is Bayley? Where is Bayley? I mean, they put it over on commentary so much that, oh, these two are such great friends, but they gotta put their friendship aside tonight. Yeah, if they were such great friends, then where the fuck is Bayley? I mean, what is she just backstage with her other friend, watching her other friend getting her ass beat? Yeah, that totally makes sense. So that's the only complaint that I have. Other than that, the match was amazing to me.
Yeah, you simply cannot go wrong with Bayley versus AJ Lee. Plain and simple, these two are just that damn good where you just cannot have a bad match between these two. And tonight absolutely proved that. But I'm with both of you where you come back from commercial break. It's like, what the fuck? How did this start? What did Becky do to why? This makes no damn sense whatsoever. The only motivation that Becky has is the fact that she's complaining like all hell that AJ Lee has her title. That's it. Other than that, we have literally nothing. And God, I hope we don't get another Becky title reign out of this.
I think, Tommy, you just answered your own question. I mean, do you guys remember how their last match ended? AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch. It had a lot of shenanigans. Had a lot of stuff that happened. As much as we don't like Becky Lynch, I mean, it does make sense. She's not happy with how the match ended. Jessica Carr played a big part in that. Becky Lynch is claiming shenanigans, and she's not happy about it. So I'm really glad that Becky Lynch went after AJ Lee, even though we didn't really get to see the initial attack, but we saw most of it. We saw the important things. And especially how their last match went, which I really enjoyed. Becky versus AJ Lee at, what was it? Was it the Elimination Chamber?
Chamber,
Yeah. Great fucking match. I mean, there was only 4 matches on there, but it was up there for probably best match of the night, right? So I'm for this, man. I would like to see this match, a rematch at WrestleMania, especially if the way that their last match went. I'm down to see it again. The only thing, though, that took me out of this whole match was the fact that I just feel bad for Bayley. I mean, it's AJ Lee's first title defense, so no one expects AJ Lee to lose. Bayley was in AAA this past weekend. She lost in AAA versus Lady Flammer, who's like not at the level of AJ Lee. So Bayley's just getting beat again and again. So I feel kind of bad for her, but man, the match was dope. This is the second. AJ Lee has been having great matches ever since she came back. And she hit another home run tonight. The match was dope.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Moving on to the third match of the night, thankfully that came right after this, but of course there was video package in between this, a promo segment before the match even started, but I'm skipping all that. This was Penta versus a mystery opponent because Dominic Mysterio, who was supposed to be here, was unfortunately unable to compete due to not being medically cleared from his match this past weekend in AAA, where he retained the AAA Mega Championship and does not have to leave AAA forever. So who answered the call? Dragon Lee. And what could have been an easy throwaway match on paper turned out to be a match that slowly built. Just like the El Grande match, this match built up and built up and built up. The fans like, Dragon Lee, but they love Penta. So they had some noise for it. But the more these guys did, the more the match went on, the more the fans gave it everything, including this is awesome chance it got to at a point. The highlights of this match, the sequence literally, aside from the fact that what surprised the fuck out of me was Dragon Lee kicking out of a Penta driver. I was like, wow. And then we had the highlight of Penta getting thrown out of the ring and hit by Dragon Lee, a diving senton across the announcer's table that hit him hard as shit. Okay. Followed by throwing him back in the ring to hit an Operation Dragon for a kick out. And then Dragon Lee sets up to go for another running, what I believe would have been another Operation Dragon on Penta. Penta counters and reverses into a very fast and extremely impactful Mexican destroyer for the finish. And Penta retains the Intercontinental Championship. This to me was the sleeper hit of the night, the sleeper match. This was fantastic. Everybody looked great. Great sportsmanship afterwards. Another fantastic defense, as far as I'm concerned, of this Intercontinental Championship. And when it comes down to it, they're really finally trying to turn Dragon Lee into a bigger star here, and that works for me. What did you guys think of this?
Yeah, I agree. I see them trying to make Dragon Lee into a bigger and better name, and I feel like that pairing him with AJ Styles, even though it was for a shorter amount of time, that's what that did for AJ, and I'm glad that that's the direction that they went. Going into the match, it was a good match. It's just I didn't care for it until I want to say it was the Operation Dragon or the what's it called? The
Diving
threw.
senton?
Well, yeah, I think they called it something else though. The corkscrew. I think they called it this. The corkscrew suicide dive. That's what it was. I think that's what they called it. But anyways, same thing probably. But I just didn't care for anything before that point. The match was good, but only until that point. It felt like super spot loaded at the end because that's the ending of a match. Of course, it's gonna feel like that. But I don't know how to exactly describe it, but you probably get how I feel about it.
Dude, I love this match. I really do. Penta cannot have a bad match. He really can't. Unless it's against the New Day. Because we all know how the hell that went. But still, Penta cannot have a bad match. And so far, neither can Dragon Lee as of late. So these two, as a pairing, fantastic there. I do also love the fact that good old Dragon Lee did, in fact, put in a little reference to AJ Styles there when he did the Styles Clash, or at least tried to. So I am so happy that Dragon Lee absolutely put in that reference there. So this entire match, I adore it.
Yeah, I love Dragon Lee. I love Penta. I'm glad Dragon Lee got this opportunity. Amazing. Penta said that he's going to be a fighting champion in AAA, and he wants to defend the title versus anyone, including people from AAA. So we kind of did see someone, I guess, from that lucha scene, but Dragon Lee's from the Raw roster. I was kind of hoping for someone from AAA, someone new, someone different, someone fresh that we don't really see a whole lot. But we got Dragon Lee. Perfect. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is we already have an open challenge on SmackDown. I don't need to see open challenges and random matches like this again on Monday Night Raw. I just don't. I need to see a feud. I need to see something with some heat. I need to see Penta. Penta has only been feuding with like Dominic Mysterio. I feel like that's been ongoing. I think maybe Braun Breaker, but he's out. I'm over the whole open challenge thing. I honestly am. So yeah, they had a good match. Penta won. No one expected Dragon Lee to win. And I didn't really care too much about it.
All right. Well, moving on to the Vision segment. Now, this one I'm not going to get your guys' thoughts on. I'm only covering this to basically say that, well, I was right. Logan and Theory run into Paul Heyman backstage in one of the holding rooms and basically say, hey, don't worry, Paul, no matter what, we're going to get Seth Rollins. We're going to end him, And Paul goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, that's the worst thing you can do. He says, we don't have power anymore. We have lost our power. The smartest thing that you guys can do is get championship gold around you, and then we have leverage. I will handle what's going on with Seth. We will figure this out. But the smartest thing to do to get our places back, you two need to go after the Usos for the tag team championships. And Logan Paul says after Theory walks off to go talk to Adam Pearce that we're going to handle the Usos, but we are also going to take care of LA Knight. So we officially know that it's most likely going to be the Usos versus the Vision, or at least Theory and Logan's version of the Vision at WrestleMania, which is what we thought we were going to get. And because those two are going after the Usos, that leads me to believe that with Brock being occupied with Obo, like I said in the opener, Seth Rollins is absolutely taking on Braun Breaker at WrestleMania because everybody else now has a match except for Seth.
Got to give a couple quick shout outs to Rosebud 2025 says hello. Thank you for the follow. And also to Luis Bruh. Luis Bruh has been going crazy, tagging us on like every Jeff Hardy post, trying to get Jeff Hardy on the show so we can interview him. So thank you, Luis. I appreciate that. He tagged Jeff Hardy again on our live. So thanks, bro.
That's amazing. All right, guys, moving on to my lowest point of the night. This was the fourth match of the night. This was Maxxine versus the new and, well, we thought improved Natalya, now going by Nattie. We finally actually got a fucking match out of these two because the last two times they faced, it was some bullshit where Maxxine got knocked out or basically got knocked out in the ring or something and then gets beat up on the announcer's table. And the next thing she gets knocked out on the ring post and then she gets beaten to the ground. And then we just never seem to have a fucking conclusive match here or conclusive finish. One thing I noticed about this match, the crowd did not care about this at all. However, they didn't care about Natalya at all. Every time Nattie did something, dead silence. Every single time Maxxine started doing something, they started coming alive a little bit more. And by the time they were like, hey, maybe we'll give this something, match was over. They don't care. And then after the match, Natalya does the cringiest shit on the show for me, in my opinion. She looks into the fucking camera and with her just stupid fucking mouthpiece in, looks in the camera and goes, what'd she say? The dungeon is alive. And I was like, for fuck's sakes, bro, please get it off. Like, I hope this is it. I really do. Because I respect Nattie. I haven't been able to get behind Nattie in over a decade because none of her gimmicks stick, and they flip-flop her as much as they do the big show between face and heel. And they finally decided in her mid-40s, when she's probably on her last serious run, that they're going to actually try to book her in a serious fashion. And this is not the way to do it. This sucks. This is cheesy. This is not good. It doesn't make Maxxine look better, and they've been trying to build her for half a year. It doesn't make Nattie look better, and they're trying to repackage her and reintroduce her to a crowd and an audience who can't care less about her. In my opinion, Nattie is becoming the Rusev of the women's division. The crowd doesn't care about anything she does. And this is now the third or fourth fucking example of that being true. She wins by submission. Please move these two on. Guys, your thoughts?
I didn't even notice this match. That's how much I didn't even care for it. I just didn't pay attention. I was doing something. I don't even know. But I'm on the same page. I'm just tired of these two, and it's kind of like the El Grande Americano stuff, but I don't even want them. I don't even want to see the end of it. I just hope that this is the end of it. Because, I mean, it's boring. I mean, you got Nattie in her 40s, probably on her way out as we speak, saying cringy ass shit like that, instead of putting over Maxxine Dupri that could actually benefit from it. Not that she would benefit from anything, because what the fuck has Nattie done?
Speaking of not putting her over, literally shouts into the camera during the match, Maxxine didn't beat Becky. The Dungeon beat Becky. Oh, great. So now you're taking the credibility away from Maxxine. Got it.
I could not give two shits about this. I really couldn't. The biggest problem is the fact that, as Blood said, they waited so goddamn long to take her seriously. Not Maxxine, but Natalya. They took so goddamn long for it that at this point, it doesn't matter what happens with Natalya at this point. So, I really do not give a shit what happens with Natalya anymore. It's like, I really wanted Nattie to be a thing in the WWE. I was one of the biggest people on that. But now, seeing how they're working her like this, it's not working. And at this point, Natalya just needs to go.
I like Nattie. That's it. Those are my thoughts.
All righty. Moving on to the Randy Orton segment. Now, this one, again, I don't need comments on. Just going to go over it so we can say it, because I think nothing was really accomplished here. I think we're going to get more from SmackDown. But basically, because it's important, we got something interesting from Randy out of it. I'm going to recap it. So, apparently, we were supposed to get an interview of Michael Cole over Randy Orton. Instead, Randy Orton decides to use satellite internet to record his segment. And we cut to him while he's on the phone with a mystery caller, someone we don't know, but he's very deep into this conversation. And he's thanking this person from talking to him, it looks like weeks ago, and says, I can't wait. I'm going to see you soon. That tells me there is somebody on the other end of that line that is going to either come back, reappear, or get involved in this story. And I got to tell you, I think it's Kevin Owens, because Kevin went out a heel. And Randy is on the phone talking to someone who gave him advice, told him that he should turn on Cody, that he was right about what he did to Cody on Friday. I think this is Kevin Owens he's on the phone with. But Randy says something when he finally gets off the phone. He goes, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to give you anything else other than this. Michael Cole, I'm a killer, referencing the Legend Killer. And he says, and by the way, there is more than one royal family in professional wrestling, referencing Cody's entrance theme, referencing that Cody is not the only dynasty, that Randy is probably of the most important third generation superstar in professional wrestling history. But that was that. We're going to find out more on SmackDown. But Edgar, your thoughts on this very quick?
Yeah, I kind of wish we reviewed SmackDown, because there's a lot of people that are really excited about this heel turn that we got from Randy Orton, right? We got the old Randy back. And I did go back and rewatch it later on Friday night after the fact, but I was already a little sippy, so I don't really remember what happened. But I want to give a quick shout out to one of our good friends from the show, Mr. Big D Nick, who was one of the people that the WWE showed on camera during the Randy Orton segment. I recognized him right off the bat. So congratulations on that, Mr. Nick. But yeah, man, I think the stuff that's happening here with Randy Orton, man, is it's pretty insane, man. It's a big deal, and I'm really excited about all of this. And I think you're right, Mr. Blue. I think you're onto something. I like where your prediction is going when it comes to all of that.
I mean, when I think about it, Kevin Owens has been out for over a year. He had the surgery in June for his neck fusion and everything. I mean, we're talking in June, right? So that's 8 months ago now, going into 9 months. He's been gone, or he's been gone for over 9 months. He's been gone for over about a year plus, but he had that surgery 9 months ago. I'm thinking rehab has got to already be close to done, maybe impact testing. I'm hoping maybe we see him on the road to WrestleMania, or the reason Cody loses at Mania is because Kevin Owens returns there. Now, when it comes down to it, we had the next match, the fifth and final match of the night before the main event segment, Stephanie Vaquer versus Raquel Rodriguez. Now, I got to be honest. By the time this match started, I had already forgotten it was supposed to happen on the show because we had to get through so much terrible pacing, a couple of things that were just slogs to get through, that I genuinely forgot that this was a match that was happening on the show. Basically, Stephanie Vaquer wins by roll-up, but this happened because Liv Morgan, of course, tries to get involved, cause a distraction on Stephanie. Stephanie essentially is about to, get herself fucking disqualified here and by going ape shit on Liv, but who comes out? Io Sky. Io Sky comes out, starts distracting Raquel and Liv herself. Liv's like, whoa, you're coming after me? Because for those of you who forgot, in the gauntlet match last week to determine the person who would face AJ for her IC championship belt, it was Stephanie and Liv that screwed Io over. So when it came down to it, Io was back here for her comeuppance and didn't go that well because Io immediately gets launched over the fucking announcer table, hitting her head on Michael Cole's chair leg. And then Stephanie yeets Liv Morgan over into the ring bell area, goes in and gets a very quick and very anticlimactic roll-up on Raquel Rodriguez for the win. I got to be honest. Not only did I forget this match was happening, I faded in and out of this match while it was on. I was very bored during this match. I'm going to be honest. Because I've seen this already. These guys verse like 3 times. I really only care about Liv versus Stephanie, so I don't care what Raquel's doing regarding Stephanie. And because there's no follow-up this episode to Finn Balor from last week, I cared more about seeing Finn show up and do something to fuck over Liv than anything else. And we didn't get that, so I was just not really invested in this at all. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Didn't give a fuck. I genuinely didn't. And that's weird because it's a Stephanie Vaquer and Raquel thing, which usually I'm like, I want to see them have a match because usually their matches are amazing. But this one's probably got to be their worst one that they've had. Even I think they've had only 2, including this. So, I mean, I just didn't give a fuck.
I forgot this match was going to happen. I forgot this match was even happening in the first place. I forgot it happened at all, to the point where my ass has no thoughts on it because of the fact that I completely forgot about it.
I like Raquel.
Those are your thoughts, Snug?
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, moving on to the main event segment, which is Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Now, off the bat, I'm going to say this is the weakest promo exchange they've had of the 3. I think last week's or 2 weeks ago was the best one they've had of the 3 so far. I know we're going to get more on the road to WrestleMania. We're about 4.5 or so weeks out, but this is the weakest. Now, weakest doesn't mean bad. It was still a good segment. However, they weren't as much on their game as I thought they'd be. They both kind of stumbled over several of their words a couple of times apiece here. Basically, Roman calls out Punk. Punk plays mind games, takes his time, goes in a full circle around the ring, high-fiving everybody just to taunt and piss off Roman. Now, Punk gets in the ring, and he basically, says last week he deserved to get hit by the Usos. He says it was the right message, the wrong messenger, because Roman was too chicken shit to show up and deliver the message himself. Now, Roman tries to basically dog Punk like always. This is my show. You're Phil. I am the main event. You are basically only relevant because I'm here. No one cares about you. You haven't done what I've done in this business. I've done everything there is to do, accomplished everything there is to accomplish. I'm the biggest star in this fucking era. I get paid you call me a part-timer, I get paid the big dollar for a reason. If you don't believe me, ask the other top tier talent like your wife. So basically, Roman tries to leave. Punk not only blocks him once, twice, gets out of the ring and stops Punk, and then stops Roman, and Punk tells Roman, this is my show. This is my championship. That's my ring. You will leave and come and go when I freaking tell you to. Roman actually gets back in the ring and listens, and Punk basically goes on a whole other diatribe. But here's where Roman won the segment, because Punk's entire thing was about getting in Roman's head. And I thought Punk was winning the segment until Roman basically said, Punk, you are an embarrassment because you are such a try-hard at this. You embarrass all of us because you're old and you're a try-hard. And calling Punk old somehow provoked Punk into punching Roman in the face. Keep in mind, Roman's entire point was that Punk thinks he's the king of the mind games. But Punk mentioned he would bury Roman next to his dead dad. And Roman never hit him for it. But Roman only had to call Punk irrelevant, a tryhard, and old. And basically by saying that you're basically just some old, irrelevant star trying to hold on to the spotlight, and you humiliate us by being you. That's what it took to get Punk to hit Roman first. Remember, they've had 3 interactions. No one's touched anyone until this point, thus furthering the fact that Punk might have thinner skin than Roman. And that's what Roman wanted to accomplish here. Punk, you say you can get under my skin, but you threw the biggest shot you could throw by mentioning my dead father. And all I had to do was tell you that you're an embarrassment to this company because you're an old tryhard trying to hang on to his career. Roman won. They get separated. The show ends. Roman won. Guys, what did you think of this? Definitely the weakest of their 3 interactions, but Roman proved a very, very big point here tonight. And that's coming from me, a massive CM Punk fan.
I'm just waiting for it. I mean, Punk hit Roman with a low blow. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting. I'm just waiting for Roman to say something about Larry. Or what was it? Yeah, that was Punk's dog's name, right?
Yeah. Larry.
Okay, I'm just waiting for it. Just waiting for it because I know that's going to hit Punk a hell of a lot more than what this did. Because, I mean, just calling him old. Man, I call my mom that's in her 50s old almost half like 50% of the time that I talk to her. And I'm obviously kidding when I say that. But she doesn't even get offended because she knows that I'm only kidding. Point being is
it's the context, though.
Yeah.
He called him an embarrassment and a tryhard. And because of him also being old, that's why he is an embarrassment.
Yeah. But I mean, I was just, you get it. But this was definitely their weakest out of the 3 that they've had. They've had 3, right? I don't know. I haven't been paying attention a lot recently. But it's been the weakest out of all of the ones that they've had. And I can't even tell which one of the other two are like better than the others because they were. I don't know how to describe it, but just waiting for that low blow for Punk because I feel like that will get under his skin a lot more than him basically being called an old irrelevant old fart or embarrassing irrelevant old fart, but just I'm waiting for that low blow.
Like I said before, this is why I love this build up to Mania so much and this match particular. Because clearly Punk tried to make it extremely personal. And it affected the Usos more than it affected Roman. Just think about that and how big that is. The fact that Roman basically has already said that he has heard every single thing that you could possibly say to him to get under his skin. And yet, even at the most personal thing, bringing up his dead father, that still did nothing to Roman Reigns. So that's really, really big in itself. And I'm with Toxic, where I am just waiting to see how Roman brings up Larry, because we know it's only a matter of time. We've still got a month and a half to go. So at this point, Roman will bring up Larry, and when it does, Punk's not going to hold back whatsoever when it comes to his punches.
Yeah, man, I was really looking forward to this segment, CM Punk and Roman, right? Especially after the last encounter that they had, how it all went down. But it just took forever to get to the point. And I understand what they were trying to do. You know, CM Punk is trying to prove a point. CM Punk is like, I'm going to make you wait. We're going to play my song. I'm going to say hi to everyone ringside because this is my show. And I say when you come, and I say when you can go, and I say when you can leave the ring, right? So this is just CM Punk playing mind games, right? But it wasn't really pissing off Roman. It was pissing me off even more because I'm like, hurry up, bro. Get to it. Finally, they start talking. Finally, they get to it. And yeah, Tommy, you hit it right on the head, man. Like, I wasn't sure what Roman Reigns we were going to get tonight. Roman Reigns seemed pretty pissed off last time we saw him. But tonight, he seemed really calm. He seemed really cool. He seemed really collected, which was odd. Especially Roman being a big family guy. Doesn't seem too fazed about being told he's going to get buried next to his dead daddy, right? But it's just a matter of who can get under whose skin first, right? Who's really more confident here out of the two. And tonight, it looked like Roman Reigns is that person. Tonight, CM Punk got hot because Roman Reigns called him Unk, called him old, which I looked it up. They're 7 years apart. CM Punk is way older than Roman Reigns. But, yeah, man, it ended with CM Punk laying out Roman, kind of how last week ended with the Usos laying out Punk. You know, I don't always need fucking someone getting put through a table like we did on Friday Night SmackDown with Randy and Cody. So this is more refreshing, you know. These two guys are going to get their hands on each other, but they're not going to give it to us just yet. We have to wait to see it. Things are going to get crazy at WrestleMania, and I can't wait.
You see, and I want you to clip this because I think this is going to frame this feud perfectly. This is perfect because this entire feud is Roman and Punk trying to rage bait the other one and to see who has the more fragile ego. Because you got to understand, Roman's entire persona since becoming the tribal chief has been that he's an egotistical, politicking, main event part-timing, manipulative son of a bitch. And the entire view in pro wrestling of Punk the last 6 years is that he is a politicking, egomaniacal, self-serving, fragile son of a bitch. They're very similar as much as they hate to admit it to each other. And both of their entire games have always been manipulation. Who can get in the head of the other one the most? Roman spent 5 years manipulating the bloodline and his opponents into doing what he wanted and getting them to play his game. Punk spent all of his heel runs manipulating the boss, the authority, the people that they thought were his friends, and then people who believe that he's a manipulator backstage. Both of these guys are blending this shoot and kayfabe so perfectly, but I love that as much as they are the nuclear fucking lines they're throwing at each other, this is now first fucking shot fired physically. It's not some pull apart brawl every fucking week, and that's great. I like that it's simmering. I like that they are taking their time to get to the boiling point that is going to send them over the fucking edge for WrestleMania. Don't let these guys explode into a brawl. Keep letting it creep. Now that Punk has fired the first shot, I want Roman to be the one that hits him next. That's what I think needs to happen. But those are my thoughts. Guys, that is the March 16th, 2026 Monday Night Raw review here on the Snug Wrestling Podcast. That is in the books. And we are getting out of here. So thank you for hanging out with us. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. We appreciate every single one of you for hanging out and kicking in and tuning in every single week. You can see us on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays on TikTok live, at least on Thursdays, for our one-on-one hour spots with myself and Edgar, the head of Snug Wrestling, for our random and relevant wrestling hours at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And you can catch us after the shows on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for SmackDown, NXT, and Raw, specifically for those reviews on YouTube Live, Instagram Live, and Facebook Live. And of course, guys, if you like reaction content, you can check out our channel segment to segment every single week during the shows for more content and interaction with the rest of the fan base. And head on over to teepublic.com, public.com/Snug Wrestling to support the channel and pick up your Snug Wrestling merchandise. It is on sale in the store for the weekend, so go over and grab yourself something. But guys, thank you as always. Until next time, stay safe, stay savage, and stay snug, boys. That was one time for the one time I said that was
4 letters.
4 letters.
1 word.
1 word.
Yeet.
yeet.